Hey guys, it's Alex. How you guys doing? Today what we're going to do is we're going to play around with the Corvette. Last time I spoke to you guys, I was dialing in the cold air intake on the Corvette. Ended up going 6.1, made 700, rear 699 rear wheel horsepower, and I was super happy with the results. So what I wanted to do is just get a better, cleaner MAF signal. I'm a stickler for a clean MAF signal. This one does pretty well, but based on the shape that is needed to make that fit under the hood, well, you might be, if you're a tuner and you've been around MAF curves, you might desire something on the round side just for drivability reasons, right? This thing makes plenty of power, drives pretty damn good, but I wanted to try something on the round side because based on everything I know on the Ford side of things, a round MAF is highly desirable. So here what we have is what I'm used to, okay? This is what I deal with on a daily basis. I deal with stock diameter MAF housings. This is the Gen 3 MAF housing, close to 100 millimeter. I want to say in the 90s. It's got a Ford style slot MAF in it. This is a JLT 148 carbon fiber, which what I will do, again, the signal isn't terrible, but it's not good for the sheer fact that it's JLT crap. But it tunes fine. But if you tighten the filter too much on this, you can actually distort the MAF curve because you make it on the oval side. And this is the king daddy of them all, the PMAS 149 that comes in the DD149 kits. So what I'm going to probably do is cut this guy and install this guy on here so I can have a DD149 or a PMAS 149 with the JLT couplings because I think that's going to be the best of both worlds for the GT500. But on the Corvette, we're limited by space. So I wanted to try something on the round side because everything on the Ford side is round, round, round. So the guys who have been super nice to me and they really want to help a brother out over at Late Model Performance, they had fabbed something up for the ZR1 that Greg had over there. And this is just something they just made up just for the hell of it for mock-up purposes. And I thought, you know what, let me give it a shot. So reached out to them and to see if this was going to be a little more tune friendly. And I thought, if they're willing to work with me, that'd be super awesome. And they were. Bledsoe said, hey, I'll send you this down there and we'll see if you can make it fit. Well, the problem I was having is it wasn't going to fit under the hood. The transition from the throttle body, I think it goes like this. The transition from the throttle body to the early elbow here, I think that's the right side. It's either this way or this way. I'll show you in the car. I was having a lot of trouble because the angle is super severe and the hood wasn't shutting. Now, Greg does have an aftermarket big boy hood, so he didn't have those issues. So I said, I don't have the right couplers, but because I have a good relationship with some people in the industry, Nick James, Mr. PMAS himself, said, Alex, I got some couplers that might work for you. I said, do you have a 45 with a 4-inch and a 5-inch? He goes, I do. I go, get out of here. He goes, I do. This is like from our make your own cold air kit. And there's a 4-inch into a 5-inch transition at a 45-degree angle, and I can cut it whichever way I want to be able to get the proper angle coming from the throttle body to the Bledsoe cold air and to cut it maybe at a slight angle and see if it can fit under the hood. So because I'm familiar with round MAF housings and I really like that and I'm a stickler for data, why not find something custom that Mr. Bledsoe from Late Model Performance made, stick the sensor in there, use the couplers from PMAS to fit it onto the Corvette, and see if we can make a little MAF curve action going. See if we can give it drivability and still retain good power. And as you can see, Corvettes have no real room to work with, and I don't want to take this shroud off because this does a good job of getting air from the bottom and getting it to the radiator and the heat exchanger. So all right, let me see what I'm working with. So what I'm working with is this right here. So this is the transition from the cold air to the 102, I think, millimeter throttle body. And the issues I was having, is this guy right here. I can get it coupled, but the problem is the angle ended up being too severe and it ends up hitting the hood. So I thought, well, maybe if I bring it a little lower, bring the cold air, tuck away down in there. Let me actually orient it properly. There, that makes more sense. So the orientation was going to be an issue because if it's too high and resting on the shroud, I'm just gonna have issues. But if I can bring it a little lower, like further away, it was gonna work out. So I didn't have a coupler. So I'm hoping that Nick James's PMAS stuff might fit in there. And of course, the filter is gonna be an issue. So I have to source a filter locally, probably from Havoc. But let me see what kind of magic I can work by mating this guy together. And then if it all bolts in, put the sensors in, plug up things that aren't being used, see if we could tune it. Okay, day 2, after a lot of cutting, don't worry, I didn't scratch it up. After a lot of cutting and a lot of moving stuff around, I ended up with the Kong coupler. Kind of jacked up, so I'm gonna try to make it fit a little nicer. And I did pre-fit some of the filter stuff, but I gotta make some grommets fit, so I'm gonna make sure this fits for the for this line. So I'm gonna make sure that I make that hole a little bigger. On the other side, it also has a hole. I gotta cap that, and I have to close this. Again, this was made by LMP of Maryland, Late Model Performance. But the Kong coupler, for now, it's 4-inch to 5-inch. Seems to be okay. I tried many different angles. I mean, you name it, I tried just all the angles on the planet, and nothing was really jiving. So even though Nick James was nice enough to send me down some couplers to try, every angle I tried just didn't work out the way I think it should fit. But nice thing is now I have a good collection of couplers and, you know, a bunch of ideas. So I bought a couple of grommets, bought a uni-bit to make that hole bigger and put a proper grommet in there. I'll take it off, put the filter on it, make sure everything fits nicely, and then we'll get to tuning it. So yeah, I didn't show you the complete process because, man, I was just there cutting and sweating my ass off all night. So I'm like, yeah, this is a long R&D process. And again, the whole thing is to make it fit under the hood because, as you can tell, it's close. So before I do any final stuff, I'll ask the guys at LMP if it's okay if I kind of flatten out this area. This is theirs, so I'm just trying stuff. I want to flatten out this area so it fits under the hood nicely. I know some of you, why don't you just get another Cold Air? I want a bigger diameter. I want something on the custom side. I like the roundness of it, and I want to see if it tunes better. That's the whole point of this exercise. So, okay, let me keep going, get all the mods done, and by the next time you see this setup, it should be all done and cinched up and fitting properly under the hood. Nice. Very nice. Okay, got everything plugged up. Got the ports working. Threw a bolt, which I had on the JLT on the GT500. But there's a grommet there. Probably hack shit, but as long as it doesn't leak, I really don't care. So that's literally what I had on the GT500. Okay, let's get this guy installed. Let's see if we can get it fitting under the hood properly. Get the filter on it, see what it looks like, and then throw a tune on it, see what happens. I mean, not bad, right? Was able to get the grommet on this side. Was able to find a filter that was 5 inches in diameter. Thank you to Havoc Speed. Had it locally, freaking awesome. Now the real test is to see if this fits under the hood. I'm not gonna do anything else unless this fits under the hood. It looks a little close. Yeah, but the problem, and there's a good thing, because see how the hood bows this way? So it might close, but what I do is I listen to see what hits first, the latches, or if I hear something before the latches hit. If I hear something before the latches hit, well, obviously it's hitting. So let's take a listen. Right there. So it is touching a little bit right there. So what I have to do, and I did it yesterday, is clock it so that this angle, this hump, ends up somewhere over here, as opposed to at the 12 o'clock position. We want it at, let's say, the 10 o'clock position. So let's go ahead and clock that. That means this filter will be close to here, but my main concern is not having it hit this. Okay, the hood barely shuts because it's hitting right around here. So I'll talk to Alec and we'll see if he allows me to The problem is I don't want to dimple this and then distort the MAF roundness of the housing. But there seems to be a little give to the whole situation. If you look at the coupler, there is some give, which allows the hood to be shut with minimal pressure. This side shuts and this side shuts with not too much, but I definitely don't want to crack this hood. That's the whole thing. So I'm sure there's pressure here a little bit, so I'll dimple that if it allows me to dimple it. But for now, let me start tuning it. Let me get everything in order. Let me start playing with the tuning, see how good this MAF signal is with a round housing. Watch this thing fly up because the tension that it's under. Yeah, it's under a decent amount of tension. So I definitely want to remedy that before I do anything else. So I'll tune it with the hood open for now. We'll see how turbulent the MAF signal is. Then we'll do hood closed, drive it around, and see how everything goes. All right, let's start her up with the same tune that I've been driving on it. Make sure it starts okay. It might need more fuel, but... It's a little on the rich side, decent amount, but I'm going to drive it. Again, I haven't touched the data since the last time. I might have to start fresh, but I'm going to drive it around, see where the fuel trims end up on average, make adjustments, go watt, do the whole thing. We'll see how close we get this MAF curve. So when you're cruising, it seems to have really good, oh man, this shadow is terrible. When you're cruising, the data seems to be really good, trimming within, I want to say 6 to 8%, maybe 4 to 6, depending on where you start tipping into. It seems to live in this frequency cruising where it's a little on the fat side, but again, based on everything I see and how the car drives, I'm not really going to be a stickler, because when it was about trimming out 15% fuel, I took out 1%, and that was the result. So I really don't want to start cutting into it too much if it's driving well and it's 6 to 8% on the rich side. Cruising, everything's really good. I've already done some wide open throttle pulls here. It's trimming nicely. Once fuel pressure goes up, I have to then play with the ramping in of the fuel pressure, but otherwise I am extremely happy with how the car is running exactly how I thought it would. LMP, late model performance of Maryland. Let me borrow this cold air. Let me show you the finished product. Then we'll wrap this video up with a 60 to 130 pull. Anything in the 6.0 or 6.1 range, I'm happy. I know, because once it cools down, I know this thing's gonna run in the 5s on pump gas or race fuel at about 22 or so degrees. That's where I have timing capped right now. All right, let's open the hood and we'll show you what's going on underneath there. Just to show you that I've been running this. Want to make sure that everything's trimming nicely. There you go. So far so good. Seems to be trimming nicely. The clamp is on good. It's a little on the offside because I have to bring this out in order to clearance this, but it doesn't seem to be slamming too much up against the hood. Probably a little bit right here. Ow, that sucker's hot. So it's a little bit, it's shutting good. So it's probably touching the hood slightly. So if I do want to modify that cold air, it's probably a good idea to kind of cinch it in that area. So extremely happy. Let's finish this video up with a 60 to 130 pull. Once it cools down, it is 90 something degrees outside, 91, 92, kind of on the dry side, not super nasty. But let me wait until it cools down a little bit, get you a 60 to 130 pull on this setup. It's trimming fuel nicely, wide open throttle. Lambda is 0.77 to 0.79, which is about 11.3 air fuel on Sunoco 260 GT. Super safe, not crazy in terms of timing, 22.5 degrees or so. So I'm ecstatic. I'm gonna drive it, fill up again, get some weight in behind the rear tires, because right now this thing is just blazing the tire in second gear, even with the R888s. And once it cools down, we'll finish up the video with a 60 to 130 pull. small corner and there's no air ducting coming into it, but it lost 2/10 based on the draggy setup in similar conditions, same time at night, 80 something degrees, 1800 DA. So that's about Florida standards for early summer. So that's the reason we do this, we test. So we lost a little bit of power, but we gained a lot in drivability, telling me that the housing size is favorable for tuning and drivability, but maybe the last bend and kink to the right doesn't favor inlet airflow at speed to basically get more power out of it. The Cold Air lays flat, a big fat filter right at the small little inlet that's in the front, and it was 2/10 quicker than the current setup. Again, all about testing. I want to thank LMP for letting me borrow the Cold Air. I want to thank actually LMP and Greg for allowing me to do this kind of testing. And you know, more importantly, you guys watching this testing going back and forth would allow you to see my tuning journey with this ZR1. So Cold Air test done. Drivability is great, but it's missing a little power. The Cold Air makes great power, but drivability isn't as good as this one. So I think making something similar, but maybe forward facing, I think would be right where we need it to be. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit, messing with the ZR1.